Good morning.
Is that the average dude?
It is. Is that
we have an announcement to make. There's a big announcement on First Sip.
Okay, quiet everybody. Freddie's going to say an announcement.
Today is the average dude's birthday.
Oh, 38 years old today.
And he's still not good at math.
Good morning, Russ Hammond. And I hope Russ and everybody else out there is ready to get your mind right. It is my birthday, turned 48 years old. So thank you, Freddie. Ready to have a good day. I'm ready to have a good day every single day. How about you, Freddie?
Absolutely.
And so the way that we do that is we have this show. We call in our friends. We call our friends to call their friends. We meet new people. We say, come on the show and tell us how you get your mind right, how you keep your mind right. And we've had some incredible guests this week, have we not?
Oh, this week has been fantastic, but we saved the best for last.
The best for last. VP of Strategic Development, I think. I just read the title. I can't remember. At The Ideal Life. The Ideal Life. It seems like an incredible company. It sounds like an incredible person that we're going to get to talk to today. And you're going to meet him too. Here he is. Hudson, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
How are you? I got a chance to talk to you just for a brief minute there. Are you a morning person, Hudson?
It depends on it depends on what I have to be. I can be when I need to be. I just set my clock back earlier and go to bed earlier if I have to.
I love that answer, actually. Right? Yeah, it depends. It depends. So, hey, Freddie, would you do us the honor of getting this started?
Yeah, let's do this. First Sip, let's go!
There it is. The call of the wild.
Woo!
And that gets us ready for the day. So, the ideal life. Tell us what the ideal life is all about, Hudson.
Yeah, so we're a platform that provides community coaching and content for individuals to grow both personally and professionally. And so that looks like a lot of different things for individuals. Like I said, it might be individual coaching. It might be some courses and content. And then for businesses, the way that looks like is we come and do leadership development.
Okay, great. Yes. So let me ask you this. So you're working with probably all types of different people throughout the organization and helping them with a variety of issues, both internal and probably personal as well, correct?
That's right. Yeah, we look at humans and say that work is just one of the 7 life roles that we exist as people.
Absolutely, and I'm sure that y'all look at all of the kind of peripheral things outside of work that you say as making a successful person, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, oftentimes we spend the most of our lives focused on a couple of different areas. So family, it could be wealth, it could be work. But if we're out of balance in other areas like health or faith or community, whatever it might be, we'll never be as successful as we can be as people.
And interestingly, I've got to say this too. If we're lacking in the financial area, then the same would be true, right? They're all equally important, but in order to have an ideal life, we've got to be balanced in all areas.
That's exactly right. Yeah, if we're worried about our finances, we're gonna show up to work in that way, and we're not going to be as successful. We're going to be unbalanced. We're not going to be as motivated. If we're worried about something that's going on at home with our wife or our kids or whatever it might be, we show up to work with that, right? It comes with us. And so it's all about finding that balance.
Freddie, do you have something? I'm sorry. I'm rattling off. I had questions.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was curious about when a company comes to you and y'all are discussing leadership development. What does that sound like? What info is the company giving you, and how do you run with it?
Yeah, it's a great question. Some companies do it really well. We're finding, and some companies don't do it well because they don't do it at all. And Many folks who rise to leadership, they're really good at being an individual contributor. And then that means they're successful, they reach their goals, and then all of a sudden they find themselves managing people, and that doesn't make them great people managers. And so how do you develop those leaders, not just in the business, but as people, as actual human leaders? And so, what we find is that a lot of folks don't really know what we say separates good leaders and fine leaders is knowing what motivates the people that you manage. And not everyone knows that. You might think you do, but really what we're talking about, what truly motivates you inside and outside of work, what's their purpose? If you can tap into that, then you can really see, you can get the most out of your people.
Hey, I was thinking, I love that. I read something, I don't know where I read it, but in regards to that and what you had written, finding the best in your people, finding the passion that lights them up. I mean, when you do that, you're going to have a killer team. It's like the halftime coach or halftime speech, and the coach says all the right things. It's a different team in the second half. So lighting them up, finding that passion, that's a big deal. What's some of the things that you have seen as far as patterns in people and things that maybe were lacking and that you were able to give to them, and you saw needle movers that maybe someone's out there right now that if there is something that comes to mind, Hudson?
Yeah, no, I think it's that. I think that so oftentimes we as people who aspire to be leaders, or we're already leaders and we're good in our own right, but really want to take it to the next level. I think what separates those folks is the awareness that we aren't there yet. And so it's finding, this is kind of get into what we'll talk about later a little bit, I think, is that I think we all need a coach. You just talked about a halftime speech and you talked about the coach do the most out of people. We need a coach. And whether that's a business coach or a life coach or a health coach, or whatever it is, to get us to the next level, if you want to be a better leader, you need a leadership coach. Because the reality is, where you're not great, that person can help, one, show you where you're not great, but then set a path for you. And you might get there in the end, but a coach accelerates the time of success.
Hey, Michael Jordan had a coach, didn't he?
Exactly right. Everyone does.
Quote of the day, quote of the day.
Quote of the day, words of wisdom, things that keep us on track. Hudson, what do you have for us?
Well, that's a perfect segue, actually. So when I was in my early 20s, I had a very good friend and mentor, and he used to say that everyone needs a cream cheese friend. And what he meant by that is, when you eat a bagel, and you got cream cheese on it, and you take a bite, and then you move it away, and you got cream cheese in your face. Yeah. It's like you have a friend who will look at you and say, "Hey, dude, you got cream cheese in your face." And the idea is that we need people in our life who can spot our faults, and really the key to that is that we give them the keys to do that. We have to be vulnerable enough to say, "Hey, man, I need someone that's going to point out where my faults are, and I want to help you. I want you to help me get over those." And so we need a cream cheese buddy.
I love that.
I'm terrible at being that guy.
Come on now. Come on. I was going to go there. Freddie, folks, I've never had a cream cheese friend, but I found that in Freddie. Actually, I found that in Freddie and some other folks. But like you say, I've got to give those folks permission. I can't be defensive when Freddie comes at me, and Freddie will tell you, he says something to me, I typically take it personally and then do the very thing that he was talking about, right? So it always works. I mean, we hate to be called out, but at the same time, it works.
Yeah, we can't grow. We can't grow unless there's someone helping us see where we need growth, right? Yeah. I mean, we can't just grow where we think we're successful.
Mr. Cobb, thank you for joining us. Chris Hill, thank you for joining us. Russ Hammond, thank you for all those birthday cakes that you sent me. So, all right, hey, let's go ahead and move into the 2-minute.
Get ready. It's time for the 2-minute skill.
The 2-minute skill is Hudson Dodd's chance to talk to us for 2 minutes. Hudson, you've got the floor.
Yeah, well, I think as we talk about leadership, something I've learned and found, I think, is that what our biggest asset, our biggest skill, as independent contributors, as what, like we talked about, what makes us really successful, oftentimes can become our greatest weakness as a leader. And what I mean by that, I'll give a personal example. So I feel like one of my strongest assets and skills is seeing the big picture, seeing how everything connects. I would be like kind of on the visionary side of things if you look at like a personality type. Mm-hmm. And because of that, I like strategic thinking. I like strategic planning. I see how it all connects, which gives me the skill to problem solve. And so what that might look like as a weakness is when I get into situations at work and there's teams or individuals who have a problem or need something to be solved, it's easy for me to jump right into the minutia and want to solve the problem because I can see the outcome. I can see where we need to get to, and I can say, well, here's what it should look like. And I'm a direct communicator. And so that can come across as, well, not friendly sometimes and direct. And it comes across as this is the way. Because in my mind, there's no other way. Like, this is it. This is going to work. And so what I've learned is how do I take that skill and asset and instead of applying it to that specific moment in time, instead say, all right, here's the teams of people that need to get together to help solve this. And so being the orchestrator of that and bringing those things together and then letting them move together as a team instead of being the one that does the thing. And so it might look like for you, you might be super detail oriented and you might be like really task oriented. And as a leader, the way that might translate as a weakness is you might be a micromanager. And so for you see that all of these things have to get done. This is what it needs to look like. And so you might micromanage people. And so our biggest skills and assets as people, which makes us fantastic and can be a skill and asset as a leader, can also be our biggest weakness.
Boom. 2-minute skill. He nailed it. Freddie Blanton, what are you going to say about it?
That I felt like he was talking to me directly. I am also a direct communicator. And I see interactions with customers very different than a lot of people do. And sometimes I really have to force myself to step back, talk about it, let them figure it out. I'm a big vision guy, and the outcome in my world is always the customer being happy and getting what they wanted. But there are different paths to get there, and sometimes it's tough.
Absolutely. No, where my mind went, Hudson, know yourself, know your buttons, know what happens when they're pushed, know your strengths, know your weaknesses. And things go deeper than a personality profile bucket, right? Like we take a Facebook quiz and we think, oh, that's us. We want to find a frame to put ourselves in, but we're all unique, right? I thought last night, build the puzzle around the pieces. Now that would be a culture, wouldn't it? So it gives everybody the freedom to be what they want. But then when we know ourselves and when we see these things in ourselves, Hudson, we can identify and what you said earlier, see things in others, the better we know ourselves, can't we?
That's exactly right. And that's like truly, and that's what we talk about, empathy and, all those kinds of things. That's really it. When you can know yourself, it makes you more empathetic because you see where your weaknesses are. You see that I'm flawed, right?
Absolutely. So let's ask you, how do you keep a positive mindset? The day's long. We sleep some of it. Then we wake up. We have that first sip with me and Freddie. and then we've got the rest of the day. As the ebb and flow and mindset and things happen, how do you stay on point?
It's a great question. And for me, it boils down to what our company is centered on, which is our mantra is pursue purpose. My personal mantra is impact intentionally. And I think for me, it's knowing the end goal. And the end goal is not 3 to 5 years. The end goal is not when I'm 85. The end goal is past when I'm dead. And so it's being able to identify who I want to be in an ideal world that I can never actually achieve. And what does that look like today? And so how do I stay on task with that? When we know that what we're doing today connects with who I want to be in the future, that releases real brain chemicals and makes us more joyful. And the last thing I'll say on that is simple things. I'm a huge golfer. There's a golf coach who talks about how when we smile, whether it's a real smile or a fake smile, it actually releases dopamine in our bodies. And so there'll be times where I'll be staring frustrated and I'll have just this like face and I'll just force myself to smile. And it reminds me just to like, let it go. It's all good. Like we're on track. We're good. And that's the joy. Find the joy.
I've got to say this about smiling. And Freddie, do you have something to say?
Well, I can tell when I need to smile when a stranger asks me if I'm a police officer.
Hey, it's all that yelling at people that you like to do, calling it like it is. But the smiling thing, doing a lot of this kind of stuff has kind of trained me to almost always look at the tension. Like if you have tension in your face and it kind of leaks through. So it's like top of mind and look for that tension and have a great day today. We had Hudson come in here. He gave us some great information. We've had a great week. Thanks for joining us. Any final thoughts, guys?
My only thought is find your purpose and pursue it.
Let's go. Have a great Friday. We'll see you next week. More great people next week. See you later. Let's roll.
See you.